Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hindu Explainer series. I am Kushagra Goel and very warm greetings from Lawprat Tutorial. On yesterday's news, a lot of you asked why didn't we discuss the news about a ship getting attacked, a vessel of Iran getting attacked by Israel, some sort of a pushback. Now every time there is some progress that takes place in relationship between Iran and US, as we know that the talks in Vienna are now ongoing, there is a sudden spike of violence in Middle East by the rivals of Iran who do not want peace in Middle East. For example, Israel and Saudi Arabia. So those are expected attacks, right? Those things are expected to happen. These are general trouble news that keeps on happening in the Middle East. It is indeed a conflict zone. There is no peace per se in the Middle East. For example, like we have peace between India and Bangladesh or India or Sri Lanka, right? But we don't have real peace with India and Pakistan or India and China. There is always a threat of violence erupting at the border, someone crisscrossing, a real risk of ceasefire while something along those lines also keeps happening in the Middle East between the rival countries that are Israel, Saudi Arabia and Iran on the other side. If relationship between Iran and US gets normalized and Iran is able to access or the sanctions are lifted, then it will be a additional competitor. It will be added competition in the region, and therefore those are maneuvers to derail the process of peace, and therefore such news do not should is generally also ignored during diplomatic channels whenever such talks take place, and also in the long term. All right, then another doubt that students had was what is this concept of GTCO2 EQ. It is gigatons of carbon dioxide emissions that take place. So for example, right now when you travel using a combustible engine vehicle from one place to another, you are emitting carbon dioxide, right? Similarly, the total number of carbon dioxide emissions that we emit in a year will be measured in gigatons based on the calculation. Just like we have megabytes, gigabytes of data for the data that you access on the internet, similarly carbon dioxide emissions are also calculated in that. And to keep the earth limited to 1.5 degrees centigrade of temperature, that to not let earth heat up, there is a set global carbon measure or the global carbon budget that we can as humanity collectively only emit this much amount of CO2 during this time period if we have to prevent the catastrophic after effects of earth heating up beyond 1.5 degrees. So that is the global carbon budget, and each country has to then determine how much they need to reduce their carbon emissions to fall in line. All right, there is another editorial regarding that, so I'll be clarifying other things regarding this topic there. So turning to the newspaper today, on the left hand side, amid surge, Prime Minister stresses on the need to test, track and treat more. So 2-3 things came out in primacy while the Prime Minister chaired the meeting with different chief ministers. We know India is now reporting record cases. The highest number of cases being reported in any country is now in India. And vaccines are running dry in India at the same time. Multiple places, the total, for example, the capacity of a vaccine center could be to administer 3,000 doses, but only 300 or 400 are being provided on per day basis to keep the centers running, but also to not let the overall shutdown or a sense of panic. At the same time, two other events have also happened. One is about the adverse effects following immunization. So India has recorded 180 dead people after getting COVID vaccination. So, but there is no direct correlation that has been drawn between a vaccine delivery and the death of the people, but nevertheless there has been 180 deaths plus, including in total of 617 severe cases of adverse effects following immunization. And then following up from that news, we will also be talking about the name of the double mutation that has now been granted. Moving on, then the Supreme Court refuses release of Rohingyas. This is regarding the petition pending in the Supreme Court about deportation of Rohingya Muslims from Jammu district of India. That a majority of these Rohingyas were rounded up by the police and are meant to be deported. But the protection and the principle of non-refoulement is available to everyone. So the court has stated that, see, we cannot release them, but if the due process of law has been followed, then only they can be deported. So now the challenge is whether the process has been followed or not. At the same time, following the event on April 3rd, the commando has now been released by the Maoist after 5 days. This was part of the Sukma encounter. He treaded into the village area where an image of him was released by the Maoists that he is there in safe custody of them and has now been released. Then on the front page, there is another news. It is in Varanasi. This is related to a local court of Varanasi ordering a survey by the Archaeological Survey of India. What does this talk about? This is a survey at the Gyan Vyapi Mosque that is adjacent to the Kashi Vishwanath temple. A petition was filed in the local court that, see, the land where the Gyan Vyapi Mosque is built, actually 500 years ago there was a temple of Vishweshwara that existed, and the mosque was built after the demolition of the temple. Now on this petition, the court has stated that, see, let the survey happen by Archaeological Survey of India and the truth will come out. However, based on the judgment of the Ayodhya Ram Janmabhoomi judgment of 2019, Supreme Court had stated a bar on conversion of any religious site from one community to another, that such conversion is prohibited under the Places of Worship Act once India got independence. That is the cutoff date. Now, the parties on the respondent side have stated that, see, they will challenge it. The one principle on which this survey has also been allowed is that under Muslim law, if a mosque can only be built on that land that is follow land, that is not a land for any other religious purposes. If, for example, there existed let's say this plot of land, there existed any religious place of worship already, above that a mosque cannot be built, or it will not be called as a rightful mosque. That is the concept in Muslim law. Now, this order has come out where Archaeological Survey of India will conduct the survey. If it is challenged in the High Court as stated by the respondents, we need to stay on that. So this is the update about this. This is in light of similar petition that was filed in the Supreme Court, in which notice has been issued challenging the Places of Worship Act, which challenges whether such petitions, one similar to this, can be filed or not, is now pending before the Supreme Court, and an extension of this under these provisions has now been issued by the lower court of Varanasi. Then moving on the other news, nothing of real note for us on the national news. So turning to the editorial front. Now, on the left hand side, beyond zero sum. So this is the editorial that talks about rich countries must commit technology and funds to move to net zero carbon emissions. Now, prior to we discuss the entire crux of the editorial, there is one important thing that needs to be understood, which is that, see, India in itself is a study of contrast for carbon emissions. Why? Because India, on a total aggregate basis, does contribute to the top 5 countries of carbon emissions. But based on our high population, if we divide it on per capita basis, we go to 3% of the carbon emissions, the standard that we discussed yesterday. So it is a study in contrast, not that India is not emitting carbon dioxide. So if a fight against climate change has to take place, India also needs to change towards greener technology. So that is one thing. But at the same time, India is a study of contrast. Why? Because it has a humongous population that is poor and is not contributing anything to carbon emissions per se. Why? For example, majority the wealth in India is limited to the hands of few, and the COVID-19 pandemic has widened that gap. What are the equipments? Luxury items cause far more carbon emissions. For example, an air conditioner and not a desert cooler. But how many households in India can afford an air conditioner? We have many households that have multiple air conditioners. So while trying to cool your home, we are heating up the earth. So it is these luxury items, luxury cars, 7-seaters, SUVs, which are far less fuel efficient, consume far more fuel, emit far more carbon dioxide. So these luxury goods, so the editorial states that India is a study in contrast. One, because on aggregate, in totality, it does commit huge amount of carbon emission, and at the same time, therefore, the fight for carbon against climate change has to involve India reducing its own. India till now has not committed to become carbon neutral at any point of time. We discussed the past two editorials on the consecutive days regarding why India should not do so. But at the same time, smaller countries see India as a problem state, because the things that India is doing does contribute to climate change, which affects, for example, rising sea level, amount of plastic in different areas, hazardous waste. So therefore, India has to be involved in the fight against climate change. The second part of this is that countries of the West who had historically or legacy carbon emissions, for example, the developed world, needs to do far more. One, they need to commit to carbon neutrality far earlier. Then also, yesterday we discussed about how much carbon or damages in general they owe to the world for the carbon emissions or the damage they have done to the environment, right? So in that regard, it calls for them to resume to the principle of funding greener technologies and funding developing countries such as India to move from carbon emitting technologies to greener technologies. Along with that, this year in Glasgow will be the Climate Change UN Convention on Climate Change, right? And on that, India is being called to prepare a domestic climate change plan as to how, even though if it is not committing to carbon neutrality, how it is going to in general reduce its carbon emissions. And one of the suggestions that the editorial makes is to tax luxury goods or luxury emissions that cause, or consumption of goods that cause far more emissions. All right. So now, in general, specifically towards the doubts, also from the two editorials that we have discussed in the past 2 days, one is that India's fight is on two fronts. One, it has to develop itself so that it can provide services to the poor and the ones who are not well off, who have no access to infrastructure. So on that regard, India cannot completely commit to the plan of carbon neutrality, because things for infrastructure consume resources, emit CO2. But at the same time, there is a need on those who are emitting far more carbon dioxide in general. For example, households which have multiple air conditioners. In general, buildings that are built that are not based on greener technologies. Natural lighting is not there, natural cooling phenomena are not there. So then you need air conditioners to furnish such or to make those spaces living or habitable. So in those regards, the consumption or taxation should take place on such Indians to reduce the carbon emissions of those, and at the same time, which will compensate for the increased carbon emissions of those who do not have access to infrastructure. So all of this is in light of the common but differentiated responsibility. So within India, those individuals who are emitting far more CO2 need to recognize their responsibility and reduce their carbon emissions and take steps to provide infrastructure to those. So this is our common, which is to fight climate change, but differentiated responsibility. All right. So moving on, then the second editorial, playtime. IPL seeks the stage set for young bunch of players eager for the spotlight. So the Indian Premier League's 14th edition begins today, which is the primary and the biggest T20 league of the world. And at the same time, it is one of the major important tournament for those who want to have a spot in India's team for the T20 World Cup that India hosts this year. So those two things become important. This year's IPL will not have away and home games, rather games will be played on neutral venues to reduce travel time. Then the main editorial, plow to plate handheld by Indian state. This is talking about the concerns of farmers and farming in general. In light, two problems have been highlighted: how the overall mechanism of food procurement in India is focused on water intensive crops that now require solution to make farmers move away from them. For example, Haryana and Punjab have now come up with a scheme that 6,000 rupees per acre will be granted to those farmers who move away from wheat and rice. This is also important. The second concern in the editorial is for declining nutrition level in India's general population, because we are so focused on crops that have MSPs that provide for assured prices to farmers. The overall production of other food crops or other nutrients that are required for human beings' development have been neglected over time. So two things need to be done. One, this reliance of farmers on these water intensive crops should be done away with using state support, and at the same time intervention is required to provide for more nutrient farm crops and procurement of them and additional delivery of such crops. How will that be done? Will also be based on the Indian state. Why? Because in India, the access and the vastness of the market requires the Indian farmer to have some amount of intervention by the Indian state, because otherwise the majority of farmers are small and middle croppers, and to avoid exploitation of such farmers by the market, the state intervention is necessary. And at the same time, state intervention is also necessary to provide infrastructure for access to such croplands. Alright, so in that regard, the editorial, this is more or less a policy one. Nevertheless, I have discussed it because farm laws are something that have been in news, and this is also talking about the position of Indian state in that regard. Then moving on, explaining Pakistan's flip-flop on trade, the shadow of politics still looms large, which runs contrary to Islamabad's statements on the need for better ties. So two things. The first part of the editorial discusses the dire state of Pakistan's economy and how their sugar and cotton industry do need India's or import from India to be economically viable. That the overall production level and export percentage of these two industries of Pakistan has been on continuous decline since 2019, which coincides with the time period of the ban on import from India. Additionally, why has Pakistan, despite knowing its dire economic straits or the economic viability of importing such products from India, is because of the politics in their country. And this is not just unique to Pakistan, but in general to South Asia. So for example, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, India, countries in the Southeast Asian region have very little intertrade with each other. And this is the primary reason for this is the importance that is given to politics over the economic development of its own people, and that politicians prefer to make political brownie points over economic development, which is also a proof that Southeast Asia has the highest number of poor people in general, because our politics focuses more on the superficial political events and not the real economic development. Now, a lot of you have also must be going through the newspaper, skimming through the political articles or what is happening in different assembly elections. Apart from Tamil Nadu, which was the only state where climate change was also an important issue. We discussed an editorial that talked about how Tamil Nadu and the rural areas of Tamil Nadu are focused more on more sustainable development, fight against climate change than large scale industry. So it shows that in general, this editorial, the point reinforces itself that politics triumphs over economic development in Southeast Asia. But at the same time, because Pakistan has now backtracked from it, doesn't mean that New Delhi or India should also take a U-turn. That it should extend a hand to resolve the conflict that is there between India and Pakistan for the lasting peace of the region. That is what the editorial talks about. Then moving on to the other national news, more about the assembly elections. Then here, following up from the Rafale case, the middleman supplied documents to Dassault. This middleman is the one who is Sushen Gupta, who is already been released on bail. What documents did he release? The document about a report. So the negotiating team that was discussing to procure jets, fighter jets for India, had prepared its own internal report for Ministry of Defense, that what are our needs and what should be the maximum price that we should offer for an aircraft. It is alleged that these documents were taken by Sushen Gupta and given to Dassault to further the negotiations between Dassault Aviation and the Indian government, to reduce the negotiating position of Indian government vis-a-vis Dassault Aviation. And at the same time, there is also reports about how he inflated the bills of offset contracts and paid millions in bribe to the Dassault Aviation and other commission agents, is what the media report says about DEF System Solutions and Sushen Gupta regarding the Rafale deal. Indian government has denied none of this corruption taking place. However, a linkage has been drawn that the Enforcement Directorate, while keeping Sushen Gupta in custody, did and plans to file a separate case against him for his involvement in leakage of these documents, or how did he get access to these documents. This is something that the Indian government hasn't confirmed. So now we need to wait for Indian government response about this. Then moving on the other news on the left-hand side. So following up from the editorial where we did talk about how Western countries owe and need to pay the developing world for the legacy climate emissions that they have done, Biden government administration has confirmed that it will restore the credibility and fulfill its commitment. What is this commitment? Under this commitment, US is supposed to contribute $3 billion to the Green Climate Fund. It is from this Green Climate Fund developing countries are to be given money to move from carbon emitting technologies to greener technologies. Donald Trump, when he was president, had put a freeze on this funding, which Joe Biden has now confirmed will be extended. Then moving on, the double mutation strain is named as B.1.617. What is this double mutation? So in India, multiple cases of COVID-19 are related to the double mutant. What is this double mutant? A variant of COVID-19 that possesses two variants of the virus simultaneously. Usually you have either of one of these variants in different countries, but in India we have had this mutant virus possesses these variants, which is E484Q and L425R. Both these mutants are found in this double mutation. Now, two things have not been confirmed. Is India's rising number of cases linked to double mutation? And what is the consequence of double mutation? Does it result in more mortality? Does it result in higher number of cases or infection rate? Both these aspects are not proven, but this is the name that has been given to the double mutant. At the same time, India is now reporting rising number of cases, and 802 people passed away yesterday because of COVID-19. And then here is the news is 180 dead people regarding adverse events from vaccination. So, but the government has stated there is no direct linkage of vaccine causing death. So the vaccines are still safe. That is the news from the government side, but this is the situation on ground about this. So we need to know these concepts and acronyms related to COVID-19 vaccinations. Then on the international front, more shift of stance from Biden administration on the US foreign policy. So Donald Trump, when he was president, had a real bonhomie with the Prime Minister of Israel, that is Benjamin Netanyahu. In light of that, US had stopped the aid that it was giving to the Palestine Authority and the UN Relief and Works Agency. Under this, Palestinian area is governed by a Palestine Authority as confirmed in the Oslo Accords in 1990s. In 1947, UN had proposed a division of Israel and Palestine. After two wars that were fought on the issue, the area that was supposed to be the independent state of Palestine was taken over by Israel. That occupation goes on. But Palestinians, or people who recognize themselves as Palestinians, are not part of Israel's system, but actually are governed by the Palestinian Authority. Now, because they are a state under occupation, they don't have foreign relations, they do not have foreign income, investment. So for development of those areas where Palestinians lived, or enclaves in which Palestinians live, aid is necessary. It is this financial aid that Joe Biden has now stated it will restore. What is this aid? 10 million towards peace building programs of the US Agency on International Development Aid, and 150 million humanitarian assistance to the UN Relief Works Agency. And following up, the statement from the Prime Minister of Palestinian Authority, Mohammed Shiate, has stated this is a new political path that meets the rights and aspirations of Palestinian people based on international law and UN resolutions. Multiple UN resolutions renounce the occupation of Israel on Palestine, and thus this action of restoring aid to the Palestinians is important for their human right development. Then on the left hand side, further updates from US foreign policy only. Post the second invasion of Iraq and toppling of Saddam Hussein in 2003, US troops in some manner or the other have remained in Iraq. They are not fighting a war in Iraq anymore, unlike how the situation is in Afghanistan. But it has now been confirmed that US will withdraw the troops in Iraq who are now not in combat situation but actually training and assistance, but nevertheless troops on another country, and they will now be withdrawn. The mechanism has not been delayed. But on the same line, another update from US foreign policy, it is most likely that the deadline that was agreed in the Doha agreement between Taliban and Donald Trump is likely to lapse, which is that 2,500 US troops in Afghanistan will probably remain beyond the May 1 deadline. So that is the news. The peace process, or the UN-sponsored peace process for Afghanistan, has not yet begun. The date has not been confirmed. Then on the left-hand side, other related news. This is regarding the South China Sea situations. China has not yet pulled back its ships. It says that, see, these vessels are merely fishing vessels and there is no problem on them being parked where they are. But Philippines states this is the exclusive economic zone of Philippines and no fishing vessel of another country should be there without their permission. So then moving on, on the other international news, nothing of real note for us. Then on the business side, so yesterday we discussed the news regarding repo rates. In that regard, a lot of you asked the question about repo rates, or do we need to know or remember them? Now, once again, repo rate is the rate at which banks purchase credit from RBI. It sets the benchmark for how or at what level you will be able to purchase credit from banks, because we deal with commercial banks, banks deal with RBI, and in that regard they will always maintain a credit rate that is a little above the credit rate that the RBI sets. Right now, credit rates are at a record low to infuse more capital in the economy in light of COVID-19 pandemic. So those things become important. However, up to date in regard to specific policies as to what it impacts. One, it impacts the money supply, something that we talked about yesterday. All right, so in that regard, those things do become important, but other related news does not become that important on such economic policies. Moving on the sporting front, the biggest news is about the Indian Premier League and how Mumbai Indians will be the defending team. They are the past 2 seasons winner of the IPL and will be defending the crown in this, which is the 14th edition. On that note, I will conclude for the day. Take care of yourselves. Cases are rising, so step out only if necessary, because your health is in your hands and is primacy is important for you to prepare for the exam and also to give the exam altogether. On that note, on today's newspaper, you need to be aware once again about that entire climate change issue, and additionally regarding vaccination, that is the name to the double mutant, what it entails, and further updates about the corruption related to Rafale, but the Indian government has not confirmed anything. On that note, thank you so much. Take care.